Around about a month ago, I sent out a community post essentially saying, send me a couple of Tower Defense Simulator loadouts that I could play in a video, which was regarding an idea made by my bro Knight. And I didn't get too many, although I did get some. And so this video is essentially just playing those loadouts and then just kind of figuring out what are the pros and what are the cons of said loadout, because some of them are very interesting compared to the others. So anyways, I hope you do enjoy the video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, we'll get started. So this was the loadout selected by my bro Nightfall, and as you can see, it has the towers: Golden Cowboy, Engineer, Commander, DJ, and Sledger. Now, I want to first point out is that if I did this earlier, it probably would have done a lot better, because Golden Cowboy currently just isn't good for economy. If his level 2 does 40 cash now instead of 65, so it's a bit of a nerf to his economy making skills or whatever the fuck, but he still is a pretty strong early defense tower. You're able to get him down quickly in solo. I don't know if you can do it in duos, but in solo it definitely works well. The loadout also features a high DPS tower, which is Engineer, the two supports, like the two main supports you usually see in loadouts, and then Sledger is kind of like a fail-safe, I'd assume, because Sledger is like really good at stopping certain enemies that are difficult to deal with, such as like the tanks, or maybe certain like bosses like the slow boss or the normal boss, even though he's not difficult. But either way, it's a pretty solid loadout from initial looks, but when you actually play with it, you realize that, or at least I realized that, there's a lot more to it than just you put down a bunch of cowboys and engineers and stuff like that. I will admit it probably used to be like that because Golden Cowboy was actually fair in terms of balancing, but like when you actually play with him, he's just fucking overpowered, if that makes sense, because this is also just the base mode. Like, it's not the hardest. Either way, it's a very solid loadout, and as the waves progress, you'll see that I'm doing pretty steady in terms of defending, even if this really isn't the strongest loadout compared to other loadouts that somebody could possibly have that will include like typical towers such as Accelerator. This gets extra points just because it doesn't have Accelerator. I'll be honest, the Accelerator arc, it came back, and even though the Accelerator is really fucking good, I really do kind of wish Engineer would also get buffed. They kind of fucked her. Okay, they kind of nerfed her in terms of her DPS, even though removing a sentry doesn't seem like much. It hinders her DPS by like 100 or something like that. Essentially, like, giving her a big nerf and making Accelerator once again the best tower in the game, which I'm not the biggest fan of. But either way, even if both of the towers in this loadout were nerfed, it's still a pretty solid one, considering the fact that Golden Cowboy can still generate some money and do good damage, and Engineer does still pretty decent damage and is immune to stuns from bosses when Fallen King will pull some shit RNG. Unfortunately, I did not win with this, so I'm just gonna cut to the part where we die. Just like that. Look at that cool shit. Anyways, here is a list of all the pros and cons in this loadout. As you can see, it's pretty much all the same stuff I already talked about, although I do think it's still worth addressing, even if I've already addressed it before, just to see what the pros and cons actually are without having to like think about it as I'm talking about it and just not having some simple words to read. But yeah, anyways, next one. I feel like the list of towers should be self-explanatory, because I don't know what the fuck this loadout. I surprisingly lasted a long time with this loadout, considering it has like 40 supports and no money and no good DPS. So like we're just gonna cut to the part where I die really quickly. So for this loadout, there's not really much to talk about for it, as it's kind of similar to the first loadout that Knight had, although it just does swap out a couple of towers. Mainly it swaps out Engineer for Golden Minigunner and Accelerator for Commander, which they're very interesting changes. I don't think it affects the DPS much. I think it actually increases it rather than decreases it. Although this comment was obviously made before Golden Cowboy got his sort of more DPS than money rework or whatever the fuck. nerf or something. But anyways, I think now if I were to change this loadout, it would definitely be remove Golden Mini for maybe Commander, because Golden Cowboy has identical DPS to Golden Minigunner. He pretty much serves the same purpose as Golden Mini, being a major DPS tower, has similar DPS to him, and just makes a bit more money. So I don't see why we need Golden Minigunner in the loadout, so I definitely change it for Commander. Other than that, it's still just a pretty strong loadout. I was actually able to almost beat the game with this one, but I lost to shit RNG. I do like it. It does have the failsafe sledger, which I did not use in this run. I had my reasons. I kind of had to focus on Accelerator because I knew he would be the main DPS dealer of this run, so I decided to focus on him more than putting down stuff like sledgers, and so that's why I never really used him, because I figured Accelerator with his rework, and now that he has massive range with DJ, he'll be able to just pretty much cover the entire map, and I won't need the failsafe. So I'd say I'd also change Sledger for maybe something else to increase the firepower even more for this loadout. But yeah, other than that, it's just a solid loadout to use for Fallen, so I guess we can just cut to the end. But before I do, as you can see, I was running a current theme for this entire video. Anyways, like the rest of the loadouts, here's a list of the pros and cons about this one, and there is one different thing, which is that there are no towers that were immune to stuns, which is a con, obviously, because if the Fallen King does pull some like terrible RNG move where he like stomps all the towers, and then you won't be able to really make up that DPS because nothing's really attacking him unless you have medic. But it also has overall bad economy because Cowboy's your main source, and he's not the best at it, but if you can focus on Accelerator, I'd say you can make it up, and yeah, it's pretty overall just strong. So yeah, we're gonna move on to the next one now. So this next loadout's pretty interesting one because it first of all has both of the air towers, Ace Pilot and Pursue, and instead of being on Forest Camp, which is a map I chose to do all the loadouts on, the person who sent me this suggested it to do in the Nether. So this one might not be as fair as the others because the rest were all done on the same map, and this one is done on a arguably bad map and also a terrible looking one when having to record this. But when I played through this, it was very, I'd say, stressful, because Ace Pilot has some horrible targeting alongside with Pursue. But if you can look past that targeting and the times that they do hit enemies, they're still very strong towers. They're still very cost efficient towers, so I was able to focus on farming a lot more and having to focus on Ace Pilot less because I didn't have to spend too much money on him, and he is a pretty strong tower for all of his levels. I will admit I thought I would last a lot longer than I actually did, but I didn't really last long in general, so I'm just gonna cut to the part where we die.
Man, I'm finna whip this hoe.
As per usual, here are the list of the pros and cons that go with the loadout. So it seems like the loadout is like better than the rest because it has more pros than cons. Although the one con that it has there, it really hinders it a lot more than you think, because bad targeting on a tower doesn't make the tower really reliable in some cases, but it still does have good damage, and I do have farm in the loadout, so it does have good economy, and every tower is immune to stuns. Still, the targeting really does hinder the entire loadout. So that was me playing your Tower Defense Simulator loadouts, and it was safe to say they're all very interesting. That's all I'm going to say about them. I guess if you want me to do this again, you can just send me some more in the comments, like, and then I'll do them whenever. But yeah, I did kind of enjoy doing that. It was interesting seeing some people just suggest the most random shit and then just tell me to play it and see how it is. If I were to give a loadout, it would be this one that I'll put on the screen right now. I'd say it's the funnest rather than being the best, although it is pretty powerful. I'd say it's a balance between being like extremely powerful and actually fun instead of just blindly spamming Accelerator. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you soon, I guess. Bye bye.